Hello and welcome to Copper Bulletins. My name's Mark.
I'm Mikey.
And we are joined by Isaiah today. Say hi to everyone, Isaiah.
Hello.
Well, let's start with the news because we've had another album update and it looks like we're getting near the end. Last update they posted to Instagram was that they've finished backing vocals, which that was just earlier today. So, and I know they did say recently they've got about 2 weeks to go in the recording process, and then I guess it goes into post-production. So pretty much done. We're really exciting. And in terms of those backing vocals, those of us lucky to be on Patreon did get a little sneaky peek of one of the songs. We don't know which one, but we heard 2 seconds of backing vocals. It was like a single backing vocal
2 or 3
track.
seconds of Danny going ooh.
Basically, but
Not much, but the whole Patreon community just went crazy and was commenting all sorts of different stuff. So.
We're that desperate for any little bit of information. It's like,
now Mark, with that little ooh part, did you get some sort of Queen vibe with the backing vocals?
You know what? I did a little bit because it from what it sounded like, maybe it was like done with like a bit of like close harmony on there. So, and it felt like it would be part of quite an epic song, maybe, which I'm really quite excited about. Other interesting piece of news this week as well. Ali's Hysteria cover on YouTube. I forgot the word for cover for a second there. Ali's Hysteria cover hit 1 million views, which is crazy.
Incredible.
Not bad for just like a little throwaway project that she did one night. So, Isaiah, welcome to Copper Bulletins.
Thank
glad
you.
to have you on board, as it were. So
glad to be here.
Little aeroplane joke there. Tell the world a bit about yourself. You know, how did you stumble across the band, and do you have any interesting warning stories to tell us?
Okay, so how I discovered the band is probably how about, I want to say probably 70-80% of fans found the band. One day I was on YouTube watching drum covers because I occasionally like to do that. And then in the suggested videos, there was the thumbnail of the video and it said Enter Sandman cover. And it was by The Warning. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, that's a full band. So I clicked on it and I was listening to it. And the whole time I'm thinking, wow, okay, that drummer's really getting into it and everything. And then once it got to the guitar solo, I was impressed with the way Danny was playing the guitar solo and that she could do that at such a young age. And then I'm watching Ollie just kind of just
she's bopping along, isn't she?
Bopping to the beat. And then the part right after the guitar solo when it's like the little preacher
now I lay me down to
or whatever
sleep.
it is. Yeah, the fact that they had Ollie do it was so, for lack of a better word, cute to watch because it was just because it almost made more sense in the way that they did it because it was kind of like a kid actually talking.
It does really work, the fact that you've actually got kids reading those lines out.
But then after I was kind of done watching that video, I looked at Suggested again and I saw You Have Been Warned, TEDx 2017 or whatever. So I'm like, okay, same band, and it seems like they're doing original stuff now. So I click on it, I'm like, okay, their Enter Sandman cover was good, but here's the real test. Are they good at original songs?
Definitely.
So I click on it and I start listening to it. First song Unmendable comes on and I'm listening to it, and for whatever reason, and it's not for me, when I listen to music, most of the songs I listen to do not grab me the first listen. I think it's like that for a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of stuff tends to be a slow burn.
You don't necessarily hear a song and immediately love it the first time.
No, not always, no.
So I heard Unmendable, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it's a good solid rock song. Cool. Which, looking back on that now, I don't know how the heck I was missing the fact that Pow was literally beating the hell out of her drum kit, and I wasn't like
No.
drawn more to that. But I was just kind of watching it. I was like, oh, that's cool. But what kind of struck me, and I think what kept me watching the video through it, is after Amenable was over and they started talking, and I kind of started hearing about them, I was like, oh, well, that's like kind of a nice mindset to have about the industry and, staying true to yourselves and everything like that. They played When I'm Alone. It was kind of the same reaction I had to Unmenable. It was kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, it's a good song. And then it got around to Survive. And Survive is one of the few songs that I've listened to that I fell in love with on the very first listen, which was good because that's what completely hooked me.
It does seem to be that Survive is the hook for a lot of people. That's the one that really gets them.
Well, it started off so differently than their other two songs did, because it started off on the piano for one, and then for two, we had Powell singing lead vocals instead of Danny. So I'm watching Powell sing, and I'm like, okay, wow, she's got some pipes, first of all, and always playing the piano. And then once it cut into like the drums and the rock and roll, immediately I was like, whoa, okay, this actually sounds like a really, really, really a cool song. And I was thinking that all the way through, and I'm thinking, my gosh, like Powell's like singing and playing drums at the same time, and like lead vocals, not like the backup singing she was doing in the Enter Sandman cover. This was like actual lead vocals that she was doing in parts of it. It's kind of like a duet with Danny. And then once I got into the outro at the end, it was just jamming. At that point, I was headbanging. I was loving the whole thing,
dancing around the room.
And when it was over, I was like, okay, that last song was awesome. I had to rewatch Just Survive again because I was like, okay, that song was awesome. And then I thought, okay, I have to hear more at this point. So the suggested videos again brought me to the official video for 21st Century Blood. I put that on. Coincidentally, 21st Century Blood was another song that I fell in love with first listen. I started watching the video, and then as soon as that guitar riff started, I was like, oh my god, another one. I love it. Like from the very moment the song started, I was like, yep, I love this song. I didn't even have to hear the whole thing. As soon as it started, I was like, yep, I love this song. And I think at that point, then I just started going and finding as many videos of theirs as possible and just watching everything.
Now, one thing I'm always curious about with the Survive TEDx, on first watch, did you notice the drumstick incident?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I did notice that the first time, and it...
Including me?
You missed it?
So many, including me, but so many people, it's like, especially when you watch reaction videos, it's like, oh, like they just ignore it, or like they just don't really realize it, and you just get like 50 comments like, did you not see that Powell broke the drumstick and that a drumstick piece flew off the cymbal a minute later?
Yeah, well, that one was pretty obvious that I was able to notice, but there have been other times that Powell's broken a drumstick, and I didn't notice it the first time watching it because I was just too into the music. The good thing for me, though, is that I often like to read the comments after I watch the video, and I watch the comment, and then someone will put a tagline, and they'll say, like, Powell breaks another drumstick or whatever, and I'll be like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't, and I was like, what? I didn't see that, so then I click it, and then I watch it, and then I look for it, and they're like, oh, yeah.
She's, like, very smooth at recovery, at just, gonna pick up another drumstick, never lose beat, just continue like nothing's happened.
Yeah.
I always, speaking of moments like that, on for Aditi on Red Hands Never Fade, where the little gap, towards the end, and she changes a stick out, and it's just like it's just the smoothest thing ever. It's just in perfect time with the song. Just leans back, grabs a stick all the time in the world, then straight back into it. It's like, okay, yeah, that was slick.
Yeah, really definitely professional, all three of them, in the way that they play on stage. And so basically, after having watched a lot of their videos, I found out about their Patreon, and then I just knew I had to, based on not just their musical talent, but also what I had seen as far as interviews or vlogs that they had released to the public at that point in time. It was, for me, it was not only their music, but their personalities that also kind of drew me in. And I was like, they really deserve this, and they're so passionate about what they're doing. I feel like I want to be a bigger part of this. So I joined Patreon in November 1st, 2018. Joined Patreon at the groupie tier, and then quickly figured out that wasn't good enough. So just keep on upgrading as you go there. But yeah, Patreon's been great after 2 years. It's been a little over 2 years now on Patreon, and it's still such a joy to support them and be on the community.
Your Patreon-versary. Is that a thing? It's a thing now. I just made that thing.
Yeah.
Gonna slowly make small references in this podcast that catch on within the community,
or not, as the case may be.
Or not, but you'll still use them consistently anyway.
I think one thing that always impressed me and all really grabbed me is how Pow is able to command sort of so much attention from behind the drum kit, because I know often drummers just disappear because they're behind the kit, then they can't be the center of attention. And it's also, she's not that tall, so she could very easily disappear behind the drums. Yeah, She just seems just ridiculously larger than life, and that's
and that's another thing. Like, I mean, usually when I watch live videos of bands on YouTube, the camera's normally focused on the lead singer. Yeah. The camera rarely focuses on the drummer or the bassist, and as a result, you don't really notice them as much, and you don't really pay attention to them as much because they're just kind of in the background. Occasionally, a band will have a really good drummer, and they'll focus on the drummer a lot more, but I don't think a lot of bands really focus too much on the bass or the rhythm guitar. There are some exceptions to that, but I find in general they don't really focus on those as much. They're just kind of background instruments.
I think and with the warning, them being a three-piece definitely helps in that respect, because you're limiting in what you can do. But even so, I mean, I can think of a couple of drummers maybe that are able to sort of have that kind of presence, even though they're stuck behind the kit. It's like Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. He manages to really nail it. Going back, Keith Moon in The Who, he was just a nutcase, but like even someone like Nico McBrain at Maiden, Iron Maiden, he's a really larger than life character. But I think partly because of the size of Maiden's stage set and the way they've got him sort of at the back, they've got him a bit isolated, probably just for recording purposes. But he tends to kind of be pretty invisible during a show. And again, he's like probably the most outgoing and sort of wildly charismatic member of the band, maybe after Bruce Dickinson. So even if you're that kind of personality, you can still you can just disappear behind a kit and everyone forgets you're there almost. So not a skill. As well, one thing that always intrigued me about them, or initially I wanted to see, is like how did they look live? Because like you said, there's so many talented musicians on YouTube that it's great. Anyone who's got a talent can go out there and get themselves an audience. But there is a big difference between performing for YouTube and going out and doing it live. They are different skill sets. You need a different mindset. You need different skills. And just because you can play really well and perform for YouTube doesn't necessarily mean you can go out there and be a live act.
Right.
They clearly didn't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, with the warning, they all have such a stage presence to them that, like I was saying, there's nobody that's in the background. I can't decide who I want to focus on when I'm watching them, because Danny's shredding away on the guitar, singing lead vocals normally. So I'm drawn to watch her, but then Pal's beating the hell out of her drums, and even though she can't really move that much because she's sitting at her drum kit, her face is making so many movements that she's like expressing the song through facial expression. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, lip syncing along to every single song.
Or even in songs like Dull Knives or Hunter, where they've said that she's actually whispering the lyrics into the microphone.
Like in Ugh, with the end of each line. And she always does the nod.
Yeah, so
and you can't unsee it once you've seen it the first time.
Yeah. So then of course Ollie never stops moving.
No.
The entire concert. She's always like, she's got her groove, and she's she's doing almost like a dance, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's kind of different than a dance. It's just it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
she's
it's just
got
incredible. I don't know how to I don't know who to focus on.
she's got that thing where she sort of pounces towards the front of the stage.
Yeah, yeah.
But she has said, hasn't she, that she kind of she's free to do that because obviously Powell's stuck to the drum kit. Danny's mainly going to be by her mic, so Ali's got the most freedom to just like roam around the stage and have a bit of fun with it. So Isaiah, do you want to tell us a little, maybe give us a little bit more of your New York story as to your day or your 2 days, as it were, off to the Mercury Lounge shows. Set the scene.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, I went to both the December 3rd and the December 4th shows. These were my first The Warning shows. I'd never been
first shows.
First shows. Never seen them live before, and I was super, super excited because I keep in mind, I mean, this was after having known about them for like a year. And once they announced that, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to that because it's only like this is going to be much easier to make than California, because California, I got to take a flight all the way across the country. New York is an hour plane ride, or if I could drive, it's only like a 5-hour drive with traffic. So it's like, okay, I can make that work.
Being in England, I cannot comprehend the idea of a 5-hour drive. It's like, if I drove for 5 hours, I'd end up in the sea, in whichever direction.
Yeah. So, I remember purchasing the ticket. I was literally, for those of you who don't know, I'm an airline pilot for Republic Airways. When I bought the ticket for the first show, I was actually in training, job training. So I was in Indianapolis, which is where my airline's based. And we were in this cabin trainer, so we were learning how to use the emergency escape slides from the door.
Is that as much fun as it looks?
Oh, it's pretty fun, yeah. It's pretty fun. And we simulate like an emergency evacuation and everything like that. So it's pretty fun to do.
Your high heel shoes, all that kind of thing.
Everyone's right. So this was kind of before, because we simulated an emergency, but before then we had to practice going down the slide before we simulated the emergency portion of it. So we were getting told how to slide down the slide, because there's actually a proper procedure to do it to avoid injuring yourself, because some people actually do get injured going down the slide. So they say, okay, here's how you here's how you properly slide down so you don't injure yourself. I was so excited to get tickets to the show. I was waiting in line to go down the slide, literally like on my phone, putting in my credit card info, got the tickets. I was like, yes, got the tickets, and then slid down the slide. And then the tickets went on general sale, and they sold out within a few hours of it going on general sale, which was insane. So then like a couple days later, they announced a second show at the Mercury Lounge, which was the December 4th show. And I was like, I was ecstatic, because I was like, okay, if I get tickets to that one, I could go see them 2 nights in a row.
Might as well.
The other issue was I wasn't even sure schedule-wise if I was even going to be able to, being brand new, being very junior at my job, I wasn't sure if I would be able to get off for both of those days or even one of those days. But I was like, well, if I have tickets to both concerts, I should hopefully be able to make at least one of those. I woke up and I took a flight from Washington, D.C. to New York's JFK Airport. I got there, I want to say flight got in at about 9:30 a.m. And I went and got checked into my hotel. Now, for whatever reason, I decided, for money saving purposes and also for logistical purposes, because I wouldn't have a car with me, I figured, well, might as well stay by the airport, because the airport will have complimentary shuttle service to and from the airport so I don't have to like being. I'm only 24, so I was 23 at the time that the concert happened. I can't rent a car, and no, saying you're an airline pilot doesn't help. Um, get you waived off of that. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to rent a car. So I was like, okay, well, having shuttle service to and from the airport is pretty much a must for me. And also, hotels by the airport tend to be much, much cheaper than they would be in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay,
because there's
that's
nothing
what I'm
else
going to
there,
do.
is there? So
Yeah, no, there's
no one
nothing
wants
else
to stay there.
there. And the whole commute ended up taking about an hour to
That
do
doesn't
to get in
sound
there.
too bad. I've heard worse.
So it's not, yeah, it's not too bad. Getting because I took the express train in, so it worked pretty well for that. But Mikey's from New York, so he knows. I took the A train from JFK, so Mikey knows which one that is. But what I thought is, what my thought process was going into it was, well, I'll head into the city. I know the concert doesn't start for another. I think at this point it was like, I think it was about like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was like, okay, the doors don't even open for another 7 hours, but I'm gonna drive myself crazy if I sit in my hotel room for the next 4 or 5 hours. I'm gonna drive myself crazy. Also, I was a little nervous because I had gotten up early that morning. I was a little nervous that I would fall asleep and then not get up. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna risk that.
In those situations,
like,
you have these
show.
weird. You suddenly start thinking about like, what happens if I get locked in the room or something? It's like you start
Right,
thinking
yeah.
these
I don't
weird
want to.
scenarios. I better be outside the room just so I can get to the
variables.
concert.
Yeah, I don't want to fall
Yeah.
asleep and then not wake back up in time.
Don't want to miss a thing.
We're gonna remove all the variables here. So I was like, I'd much rather go into Manhattan, spend 4 or 5 hours just sightseeing, and then just show up at the venue when it's time.
Avoiding the pickpockets, that kind of thing.
Right.
Again,
so
that's probably more Barcelona, but
yeah. I debated on whether going directly to the venue just to check it out or just to go to like Times Square or something like that, just some kind of touristy hotspot.
Just hang around the venue just in case they turned up.
Right. Well, because
we know where you're coming from.
There were 2 reasons why I decided to go to the venue. Number one, because I wanted to know where it was, because I knew it was a couple blocks from the subway stop, but I didn't know exactly where it was. And the last thing I wanted to be doing when it was time to start lining up is to go, where is it? Where the heck is it? I can't find it.
So I do that if I need to go somewhere new. I'll go there a couple of hours before, so to practice going there. So when I actually have to go there, I can get it right.
Yeah, which was actually useful because when I got off the subway, I actually got off on the wrong side of the street, so I started walking in the wrong direction. Luckily, I had my phone's GPS out, and I was like, wait, no, I'm going the wrong way. It's that way. So then once I found it, I was like, okay. So I fully expected, now that I was at the venue, I took a picture of the venue, and I was like, woo, I'm here. But then as I'm standing there in the cold, I see this group come around the corner. And the first person I notice is Kent, because he's very tall, and he's got a warning hoodie on, just like this.
I was going to say, was it just like a sea of warning hoodies and T-shirts coming towards?
Yes, there was a lot. So I was like, I found the warning army.
Just imagining it like the intro of Reservoir Dogs or something, where they're all just coming towards you.
Yeah, yeah. But then I realized why they were actually there for the sound check. So. Fun fact about the sound check. So the sound check at the time was available to VIP and Ultimate
it was a
patrons.
reward, wasn't it?
Right. So I had literally upgraded to VIP December 1st. So literally 2 days before the show, I had upgraded to VIP. But because I had just upgraded, they didn't notify me when the sound check was. So by chance, I happened to somehow, by luck, end up at the venue at the exact time that they were going in for the sound check. So I actually got to be part of the sound check when, if I had just decided to just go directly to Times Square or something like that, I would have missed out on the sound. I would have missed out on the sound check entirely.
Spend $30 on a sandwich at Katz's Deli.
Right, yeah. And so when we went through the doors, I tell you, when you see this band with my own eyes it was just kind of like, am I actually here right now? Am I experiencing this? Because I wanted to do it for so long, I just hadn't gotten the chance to.
You kind of have a bit of an
And
out of body experience then.
it was
Nice.
definitely an out of body experience.
Bit of a spiritual moment all around.
Yeah. And then they started playing, and the first song they played was Queen of the Murder Scene, and I was just loving it. I'm telling you, the experience of hearing them live in person, no video prepares you for that experience. You kind of said that before about, bands being able to play live. It's entirely different than playing on YouTube. But this was even different than the live footage that we've seen on YouTube from Lunario and For Odidi and everything like that. When you actually see and hear them
The
live
thing that
in
always
person,
gets me about live shows, and the thing that really just hammer home the difference for any live show, it's the physicality of it all. It's like, like when like someone kicks a bass, the kick drum, and you feel it in your chest. And
exactly.
that's what
the
really,
vibration of the bass.
And it goes right through you. It's like douche. It's like, yeah, that's
Yes.
what really does it. That's the thing about live shows for me. That actually really being able to feel everything that's going on when it's that loud and you're in the middle of it all. And I guess that's probably more so at a sound check because there's less people to soak up the sound. There's just a few of you there.
Right. Yeah. It was just cool because it was like a group of like 10 people, including me, and we were just there. We were just listening to the sound check, listening to them go through their process of getting everything set up.
Was there an uno dos tres
No, that was before. That was
you
before
missed that
whole thing. So she hadn't done that yet. But it's kind of funny because people have talked about what they look like during sound check before. Ale and Power are so toned back from what they actually are in performing. It just kind of looks like they're just doing their thing.
Yeah.
Danny still is like performing a little bit. She's still like, moving around, grooving. So it was very, very cool to see that.
I think out of all of them, it seems that Pow is the one that shifts the most between the two. Like I think maybe because she's got so much to worry about in sound check as far as making sure like the click track's right, and if they've got doing the full production show, if all the visuals are right, that she's very, very much in sort of professional mode and always thinking, and the performing really goes on the back burner during that, and then the switch when they to the live show, and it just becomes incredibly theatrical and dramatic.
Yeah, well, I always say that Ale in soundcheck looks like any other bass player performing. Like she just stands there and plays the bass. Like
that tends to be a lot. The bass player just tends to kind of chill at the back normally in a gig, don't they? And they're just like grooving along, doing their thing. Don't mind me, just play the bass.
During the meet and greet soundcheck, I think all I could manage was "nice to meet you." I think those were the only words I could manage. Were it was "nice to meet you." Everything else was just kind of like nodding and agreeing with what everyone else was saying in the group. But I got their picture.
The words out in the right order. You probably did okay.
Yeah.
That's as good as you can hope for.
You didn't say meet you nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and then we got our picture taken with them, obviously, which was really cool. And I had been to New York City previously. So the first time I saw Times Square, I was like, wow, like Times Square, it's so amazing. But this time when I went, I was like, oh yeah.
Wow, I don't care anymore.
When's that concert? When's that concert?
Yeah.
I'm
just killing time wandering around Times Square until I can
exactly.
Until I can leave.
That's literally what we were doing. And then we went. We lined up for the venue. I was the first night. I was probably back in line almost to the point where it turns around the block. And we stood in line for about the first night. We stood in line for about an hour and a half before the doors opened. John Shallow and I, because we were with each other pretty much the whole day. And then they finally let us in. I got to the second row of people. So the front row was already taken the first night. I got up to the second row, and I was probably about halfway spaced in between Pow and Ollie that first night. So it was pretty good balance.
Pretty
sound,
central then, aren't you?
Wise. Yeah, pretty central.
You don't have to twist too much, look at keeping track of everyone.
Right. I heard Devin play, or Devon play for the intro, the opening act. And it was good. It was good music. Not anything like Mikey was saying last time. It's not something you're
very different.
Jumping out,
It's
jumping
very
around.
R&B.
She's quite chill.
Yeah.
She's got kind of a chill vibe about her stuff.
She's very nice too. If you ever DM her on Instagram, she always responds. So that's nice.
Yeah, she's it's never easy being the opener for an act when there's like literally just a room full of like crazed fans for that one act.
Yeah.
Tough gig.
Her style of music, it worked for me because I was gonna try to resist moving around as much as possible anyway during the opener because I wanted to conserve all my energy for what I knew was eventually coming. After what felt like forever, they finally came on stage, and then they started playing "Dust to Dust," which was just incredible. And if you watch the concert from the first night, the third, because someone actually live streamed the whole thing and put it on YouTube.
The whole concert's on YouTube, right?
It is. Yep.
It's bound to be, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole first night is on YouTube. Just cell phone audio, but it works for what it is. They actually had quite a few technical issues the first night. Starting right off with Dust to Dust, Pow in the middle of the breakdown right before the preacher moment. I think one of the drumsticks slipped out of her hand. She didn't break it. It like slipped out of her hand, and then as she was trying to grab another one, she couldn't keep up with the fill that she was doing. So she kind of simplified the fill and then grabbed the other drumstick and then hit right into the preacher part. So it was kind of interesting to see how she handled that. Some of the things I think that happened the first night during Survive, during the outro, we kind of had a repeat of what happened in Hell and Heaven, where Ollie kicked her bass out, except this time Danny kicked her guitar out. No. So all of a sudden the guitar just went silent. So it was just bass and drums. But of course, Danny, she makes it work. She just ran to the front of the stage and she was like, waving at the crowd. She was like, "Let's go, come on, like, let's do it." And then they did actually get it working again by like right before the end of the song, so she was actually able to finish the song with the guitar. And then another personal favorite in Sinister Smiles, right when they were saying, ironically, is at the point when they were saying break, just break apart, Ollie's bass strap, boom, completely falls out, and she goes down to the floor.
Of course, because that was when Thomas was bass decking.
Yes, yeah, and it was actually his daughter's.
His daughter.
It was his bass.
Was that the green Spectre for that show?
The bluish greenish Spectre was Thomas's.
Yeah.
The black one was his daughter's. So the first night, she was using the bluish one, and the strap broke. So she like prevented it from falling and crashing onto the stage, because that wouldn't have been good. Thomas went and got her a chair, and then she kind of finished the song that way. Yeah, she finished Sinister Smiles that way, and then it was kind of unfortunate because then that bass was out of commission for the rest of the night. So she switched to the black one, which meant that she had to retune after every song, basically. So kind of. So the first night had its issues, but for what it was, especially since I never heard them, even with those technical difficulties, it was the best live show I'd ever been to. And then, of course, we had the meet and greet afterwards, where I finally got Danny, at least, to pronounce my name correctly. Previous to that, they would pronounce my name Isaiah, which is actually how it's pronounced in Spanish. So it makes sense.
If they pronounce it that way, then that's your name now. Just go with it. You don't get the choice.
Well, that's kind of what I figured. but in one of the, I think the 500 patron live chat special,
Yes.
they actually asked how they were like, Isaiah, is that right or whatever?
Yeah.
And then I actually pronounced it in the chat, and then Rudy correctly pronounced it. And then they were like, "Oh, okay," but then they forgot about it.
Yeah.
Which is natural. I'm not blaming them for that. But what surprised me is that when I went to the meet and greet, I didn't bring it up. When I went to the meet and greet, what Danny asked me immediately was, how do you pronounce your name?" And that was surprising to me because I didn't bring it up. So that means that she knew who I was, and she wanted to know how it was that I pronounced my name. After I pronounced it for her, she's like, "Okay, I got it." So that was basically the first night.
Now every Instagram live that she sees you,
Yes.
gotta scream the name.
Yeah. So then that comes to the second night. But this night, I wanted to make sure that I got the front row because
You were.
I was like, if I
there.
don't get, because I wanted to get the front row so badly, and I was like, because I knew if I got into the front row, they'd be able to see me standing there.
The thing is, Isaiah, well, you're young. You said you're 24. So
Yeah.
If you want to get to the front, you can probably hustle your way through because you've got youth on your side against a lot of members of the
I'm too
Warning
polite
Army.
though. That's
You're
the
young
problem.
and spry, and you can just you're vigorous.
Don't
You
want
can
to offend like a 6'4" 50-year-old who's
Yeah.
gonna give you a choke slam.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, I could probably try to, but I mean, I'd be so, the introvertedness in myself would not want to like push people out of the way to try to get to the front. So I just wanted to get to the front organically, just by waiting in line. So I was like, I'm gonna make sure I get to the front. So I showed up at the venue. The doors for the second night were opening at 9:30. I got there literally at like 6:45. So like almost 3 hours before the doors opened.
How did you
I got
not
there
get
and there was,
hypothermia?
well, I had a coat on. I had a coat on, a hat on.
Degrees.
It wasn't 5 degrees Celsius. It was, maybe it was 5 degrees Celsius, but it
Still
wasn't
not very warm.
It's still not very warm, but it was fine. It worked. You just jump up and down if you were cold. Honestly, the 3 hours passed by pretty quickly just talking to people in line. Which, to bring that up, was kind of funny because, so when I got there the second night, there were only about, I want to say, 10 people in front of me. So I figured, okay, I've got the front row.
Yeah,
Like, this has got
you're
to
pretty
work.
set then, aren't you?
Yeah, and it was actually, I met Rick Simmons there.
He's
And
very
Rick,
tall now.
I had known, yeah, I had pretty much become good friends with him ever since first joining Patreon. So very exciting to meet him because he wasn't there the first night, but he was there for the second night. So it was good to meet him. And there was a group of us just chatting it up, and the 3 hours passed by really quickly. What was funny is, as the line grew and grew, you'd have people walking by the venue, and they'd be like, "What are you guys lined up for?"
What
or
is
whatever.
this?
And we're like, "Oh, the warning, man." And it's like, "Oh, okay." And it's like,
I do remember
it's like, what is...
Rudy alluding to that and saying how they create quite a buzz, and like everyone's like, why are all these people queuing up like the venue
it's like,
and
who
stuff?
Who are these young
people,
girls
like...
from Mexico?
Yeah,
Like, what?
how is this band we've never heard of just like sold this place out twice in a matter of hours, and they're queuing up round the block? So
yeah,
I think that all helped contribute to the buzz and the impression that the band as a whole made on that second night with Mr. Flom.
Exactly. Yes, as you guys were saying, he was there for that concert, and of course, I didn't know. I don't know if anyone who was there necessarily knew that he was there until after the fact.
No, I don't think many people did. It was all kept very much in the background for obvious reasons.
I mean, you would actually have to know who he was and what he looked like for you to actually know that he was there. Which, if you did, then you were probably thinking, "Whoa, this is a big deal." But of course, me at the time, I wasn't familiar with the guy, so
there was a sort of a general thinking about given how the timing of it, it's like is this maybe, are we going to have some record company people here? Are there going to be some music execs at the show? But probably didn't realize it would be sort of quite so specific.
Yeah,
Thought
the
maybe
main thing for me that got it is that Rudy was saying that New York City is going to be one for the books.
Yes,
is what he said.
well, because he
And
knew he knew he'd been hustling in the
Right.
background. He knew what he'd been sorting out.
So yeah, I got into the venue, got, like we were saying before, I got literally 3 feet from Ollie. I probably could have reached out and touched her base and then gotten thrown out.
I was about to say, she probably
but I
smacked
wasn't
you in
going
the
to do
face.
that.
with
Yeah.
Gotten thrown out.
I regret
So-
nothing.
But yeah, I mean, it was that close. And the thing with the Mercury Lounge is the stage wasn't that high. The stage was only like a foot high, maybe, 1.5 feet. So you were pretty much, especially with their height, it was pretty much like eye to eye, pretty much. They weren't really that much higher off the ground than we were. And yeah, again, the Dust to Dust started, and it was like incredible. And especially me standing right in front of the bass amp, the bass was like, it like sent shivers down my spine. It was so like incredible to hear it that crisp, that clear, that close. It was incredible.
You're like, so you're like, my liver might possibly be liquefying, but it's fine. I'm good with it.
Worth it. Completely
Totally
worth
worth
it.
As long as it's
Yeah.
not Motorhead.
But that
you'll be
second
fine.
night, that second night, compared to the first night, I'm glad that the concerts worked out the way they did in the order that they happened, because if that second concert had happened first and the first one had happened second,
Yeah.
not to say it would have been a letdown, but it might have been slightly underwhelming compared to how the second night went, because the second night was as close to flawless as it could possibly be.
Well, that was the thing.
I mean, they
didn't
had
have any technical issues on that second night, did they?
Yeah, they had zero technical issues the second night. Every song was it just sounded amazing. And you had people after the concert, I heard from at least 3 or 4 people that I had known through Patreon had gone to previous The Warning concerts, and they said, that was the best one. For sure. They said that was the best The Warning concert ever. And like Rick was saying, for example, Rick's like, I've been to, I don't know, like 5 or 6 shows or whatever, and this was the best one. So I was like, whoa, okay. It was so crazy. I was on cloud 9 at the end of it. I was kind of walking around, kind of like, chatting with different people. Made sure to get some merch at the merch table the second night, because I didn't have a chance to the first night. I wanted to make sure that I did that the second night. And then for the meet and greet, go ahead.
I was like, you do wonder as well, don't you? I think, obviously, because the band will have known what was potentially riding on that night, so
yeah,
I guess they probably there's a conscious effort there to absolutely, leave everything out on the stage, as it were. I mean, they genuinely do anyway,
certainly did.
But just go all out.
Also, that it was the last show of the year.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. So it was the last show of the year. The crowd knew that. The band knew it. The crowd was getting into it. You can actually see me in Steve, aka 16 Lizards, video of Narcissista. My head is like banging up and down like crazy. I mean, I was so into it at the time.
Everyone can also see your YouTube videos.
Yes, you can. I have YouTube footage of the concert. Southwest 737. Check it out. But fair warning, though, I'm not a good singer if I'm yelling at the at the stage.
I think
I wanted them to hear me.
It's part of the experience of those cell phone videos. It's like,
Yeah,
Hearing
it's
the crowd
part
as
of that
well.
experience.
It's a fan
To be fair,
perspective.
absolutely
Shout out to
insane.
Carol, who flew up from Brazil. She was going wild at that concert too. There are some videos where you can see her really going.
I mean, if
at
you're
it.
coming up from Brazil, you want to make it like the most of it.
Yeah,
You're not gonna fly up from Brazil and then just sit with your hands in your pocket. It's just watching with a
Phone out,
blank
just,
stare.
like,
No.
And then when we did the meet and greet for the second night, which was incredible, is as soon as I got to the front of the line, as soon as it became my turn, I started going up. Danny points to me and she goes, "Isaiah, right?" And that kind of blew my mind because I was like, okay, not only does she remember me from last night, but she now remembers how to pronounce my name, which was just kind of crazy. And then I was saying like, oh, like, oh my God, the show was amazing. And, I was in the front row, I could see you guys. And then Pal cut in and she said, "You sang every song, even Narcisista." She was like, I was starting to think, what, does he speak Spanish, like, all of a sudden? Like, and I was like, well,
All of a sudden,
I was like, I don't speak Spanish, but
I just speak narcissist.
Yes.
exactly. Yeah. And from the second night, a cool souvenir I got from the second night was Ali's set list.
Oh, you had a set list. Oh.
I did get Ali's set list because I was still standing there by the stage.
Those things are like
as
gold
people
dust.
kind of started to file out. I was still standing there, like where I was for the concert, and Rudy started picking up Ali's set list, and me and a couple other people were like, Rudy, like, hey, can we have it?
That's a
He
song by
turns
the
and he
Kaiser
hands
Chiefs.
and he hands it to me. So I was like,
Very nice.
I was shaking with excitement. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe only my
Do you
second
have
concert,
it?
and I got a set list. Oh, I do. Do you want me to go get it?
Do you want to?
I can. If
Go
you
get
wanna,
it.
like,
Go get it.
cut it right
I'll
here.
edit between you getting it. Show us your
Here's
set list.
Here's the set list. It's kind of ripped up a little bit because they ripped it off the stage. But
Well,
Mercury
'cause
Lounge.
covered in duct tape.
Is
aren't
it
they?
backwards or is it?
No, it's showing
is it
up the right
backwards
way
for you, or
round.
is it? Okay, cool. Yep. So Mercury Lounge, night 2. So there's the order of it, and it's autographed by all 3 of them.
Very nice.
And I asked Ali to sign her name next to Red Hands because, fun fact, she sang Red Hands
She
lead.
did, didn't she?
On that second night, which was also cool. I wasn't sure if I would get to hear Ali sing lead or not at that experience, and I did. So
I remember because I didn't know you obviously at that show, and when Ali sang lead, I was like, I'm one of like the few people who saw Ali sing lead because everyone knows it's kind of a rarity, and then I think every person that I've met within this community, it's like, oh yeah, I was at Mercury Lounge December 4th. I'm like, has everyone and their mom seen Ali sing lead live? Like,
yeah,
and now at the, what was it, Striper, she's saying lead live. Now it's like, now everyone has. Now it's really an international thing. Around the world, I've seen us sing lead live.
But you were one of the first. So.
Was Mercury Lounge one of the first? I think it was. There's definitely shows before it.
So the first time she sang Red Hands live was at the Tijuana show. That was the first time she sang Red Hands because at that show she was already supposed to sing Hunter lead because at that show they said they had a surprise at the Tijuana show and the surprise was Ali singing Hunter lead, but then because Danny was feeling sick they decided, okay, Ali should also sing Red Hands, so she ended up singing both lead. Which, being at the Tijuana show, that must have been amazing to hear Ali sing not just Red Hands but also Hunter. So
and then was it Agua Fria that she did River Soul?
Yeah, River Soul. She sang. That was the first time she sang lead ever.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't think she likes it very much. But
yeah,
we appreciate
she tolerates
it.
She tolerates.
She accepts that it's something that people ask for.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Every chance they get.
It's moved on
so
from
funny.
people asking if she's going to speak to people asking if she's going to sing lead. It's like, what more do you want from me? I started talking, now you want me to sing.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny because after the show was over, it was part of not wanting the experience to be over because there were a group of us outside the Mercury Lounge. Keep in mind, in the cold, the temperature had to have been either at or just below freezing.
Yeah, it won't have been very warm.
And we were standing out there talking. Rudy was there initially, and we were talking. But then Rudy had to go help pack up, I guess. So we were still out there talking, and then people kind of generally kind of left. And at the end, it was just Carol and I out there. Carol and I were talking for a long time. We actually became pretty good friends during that conversation. it was almost like neither one of us wanted to leave.
Yeah,
because once you leave, then it's like the whole experience is over.
if you were the last two there, if you two leave, then it's over. But while you two still, it's still going on.
Yeah, exactly. So we were just kind of like making the moment last or whatever. And then finally they come out of the venue and Pal was like, "You guys are still here? It's freezing out here," or whatever.
So yeah, it sounds like you had quite an experience at the Mercury, to say the least.
Definitely.
One thing I wanted to bring up with you actually, do you want to plug your Instagram?
Oh yeah. So my Instagram, might as well give you both of them. My personal Instagram is IH_Southwest.
Is that just full of like pictures of airports and aeroplanes and stuff like that?
It's a personal Instagram, so I mean,
Aeroplanes.
if you follow it, most of it's gonna be me on my job and just kind of sharing different interesting pics and videos that I do during that. But I mean, you might get some other stuff.
If you like airplanes,
I've posted if I go
men in uniform,
like
follow
I've posted stuff like from Disney World before and stuff like that. So the one that you really want to follow, because that's the warning content, which you're here for, is the warning fan, or the warning_fan USA.
Mark will link it in description anyway if you can't remember the name exactly.
If I remember. I might forget.
I don't know.
It's been a long week.
Yeah.
Believe me.
So yeah, the warning_fan USA is that one.
King of doing warning trivia.
Yeah. One thing
yes.
I think it's important to mention is, as we are recording this podcast, we are actually recording this podcast on Danny Day.
Yes. The best day.
Is it though? Is it though? I mean,
you gotta go with the meme, right?
It's a meme at this point. Like, it's almost becoming a meme to go against Danny Day now. But for now, Danny Day is the best day.
I'll be honest.
Danny Day is the best day, but Pawanale, it is up to you to change my mind on that one.
You see, I think the problem is I think Danny Day has gone too mainstream. So actually, no.
Oh really?
So
the hipster who goes for Pawanale Day.
Exactly. Yeah. I think low key actually the people that know it's Pow Day, because it's like, Danny Day, I think it's just sold out.
It's sold out.
It's gone too mainstream.
So why Pow Day over Our Day?
Yeah. Because it's in the middle, and it's Saturday as well.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
That's true. Saturdays are great.
Yeah. But they've done some really interesting things on those Power Nights. Some really good little activities, like sharing playlists and stuff like that.
I think I have a million Pow recommended songs I have to listen to in my free time.
And Pow's actually got her little sort of the playlist of stuff she discovered whilst making the album that she keeps plugging. So again, if I remember, I'll put that, on the screen. But I won't forget. It'll be somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that they do for their fans, I've never seen any band or artist or, I guess celebrity in general. I've never seen them do so much for their fans.
Well, I know we talked about it last week, but yeah, there might be on some, but I haven't seen any of the bands playing Among Us with people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Should we get into the Among Us story?
Yeah, we don't need to get into it too much. We did cover it last week, but you were there as well.
Talked about it a lot last week, but I was actually in it, and there's a meme that was made of me actually stumbling upon Pow as the imposter because she was the imposter and she was in Reactor and she ended up killing, I think it was like Adrian or something, and as soon as she killed him, I came rounding the corner, and then I see Pow just like running around in circles, and there's a dead body there, and I'm like, okay. I hit report, and then I was like, and then it goes to the discussion part,
and we got
and
a Shakespearean performance.
I'm like, I was like, Pal, do you wanna explain yourself?
Do you have something you want to share with the group?
Yeah, she was like, I don't know how to report. She's like, I don't know how to hit the report. Like, I don't know how to report a dead body. And I'm like,
but
there's
you know
a
how to kill
button
people.
that says report or whatever.
Yeah.
Needless to say, nobody was buying her
No.
argument.
It
She
was
didn't know how to.
beautifully spoken,
Okay.
though. It was about 5 minutes long. It was passionate.
Yes.
She just gave it her all. She put her heart and soul into getting her message across, and then she just got found out anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's but yeah, that level of interaction I think is something special. I'm hoping it's something they're able to continue doing, obviously, as they get busier and bigger.
Clearly,
Yeah.
if/when they become international success, I don't know how many Among Us games they'll have time for, but just the Danny Powell nowadays alone are just more interactivity than you get from just about any artist or band out there.
Mm-hmm.
And
For sure.
I'll be honest, for those days, I'm just quite happy with a quick Instagram story saying happy whichever day. It's like, they've remembered.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's
don't
the
need to do
thought. You know, it's just the thought. Hey, you know, they're
It's the
They're
thought
thinking
of
of
if
us.
they had more time, they'd do more, but they're doing what they can.
right.
Because they did stop. They stopped them at they announced the end of them at the whiskey show, didn't they, in January?
Right. Yeah.
Then
Because
obviously,
they thought they'd be too busy with the
Yeah.
tour and everything like that.
and then all lockdowns and stuff, and all of a sudden everyone's stuck inside, can't go anywhere. It's like,
And we got the sequel we didn't know we wanted, we didn't know we deserved, but we're happy we got it
Definitely.
anyway.
and I think arguably they got much more creative with them this time around as well. Presumably,
For sure, yeah.
because they're
Before it
probably
was
bored.
just recommending songs, and now it's anything basically.
The Ali Hysteria cover came out of that,
The Creep
Yeah.
cover came out of that.
Exactly.
and that did they save that on their Instagram story? The one where Danny just rattled off like little snippets of random songs. And so he made
I
like
think they
Phantom of the
did.
Opera and stuff like that. Well, I think we're probably pretty much at the end here. I feel like Sean Evans on Hot Ones or something. I feel like I
I
should
think
be
so.
like,
I've talked for long enough. If I haven't bored everyone
must be
already
exhausted.
to death, then anyway.
I'm just really tired because I've had a very long week and I'm knackered.
I'm just waiting to eat because I've been here with food for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, we know. That's why we kept talking. We just wanted to keep you from your food.
Thank you. I appreciate you keeping me around.
But yeah, thank you very much for coming on and chatting, Isaiah, and sharing.
Thank you.
Sharing stories.
Teaser, potential spoiler. We're planning on doing one with Isaiah and the rest of his sibling army.
Do we really have
'cause
to?
It's basically an army at this point.
Do we have to? Because I don't know if I can cope with that.
It's a lot of people. to
I just
at
have a
once.
feeling
Put it this way, right? You don't have to talk as much because they'll do all the talking for you.
I'm just worried that it's going to basically be like trying to herd cats. I can just see it.
You have experience with that, though.
Yeah, not very good. No cat today. They've gone there. I think they're asleep. But yeah, thank you very much, Isaiah. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Yeah, I'm glad you've had a good time, and you can go fly a plane somewhere. And
Yeah.
anyone who's made it to the end of the podcast again, might be a long one this week. We'll see how it goes on in the editing.
Even longer.
Yeah.
But it was worth it for the New York story and probably the most detailed story we're going to get of that New York experience.
Definitely.
All
Yeah,
up here.
if you've made it to the end, thank you very much. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe to The Warning, because don't bother.
Not to us, we're not worth
we don't
it.
care.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the next one.